everyone. Welcome to Anarchapulco TV, your home for the world's premier Liberty Conference, Acapulco, Mexico, from February 13th through the 16th, 2020. I'm your host, David Rodriguez, and today we have a special guest, the creator of the Art of Liberty on the Beach, also known as the Turtle Party. One of the most exciting experiences and events for me. It's been going on for a few years, and we have him on the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about what this party is, why it's important, and why you would consider and probably should be there if there are tickets available. So let's learn about the Turtle Party, and welcome to the show, Mr. Etienne de la Boetie Squared.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. And so for everybody that is unfamiliar with Anarchapulco, I am Etienne de la Boetie Squared. It's a pen name. And I am the author of a book called Understanding Our Slavery, How Organized Crime Controls the Government and the Media with Easy Solutions for Real Freedom. And that's the probably thing I'm best known for, but probably the number two is that starting, I guess, 3 years ago at Anarchapulco, some people wanted to have a beach party, and because Anarchapulco is in many ways a co-created event where we all lend our unique talents and co-create an experience for everybody, I thought that I would, since that's what I did in high school and college, is throw parties. I thought I would contribute my knowledge, and I put together the first Turtle Party. We had somewhere almost 300 people came out for that. It was really like just a magical evening. Everybody had a really, really great time. It's done at a turtle sanctuary on Boetie2 Beach, and for those that are new to Anarchapulco and Acapulco, Boetie2 Beach is kind of the OG surfer beach, local surf beach, and we take over a little turtle sanctuary there and transform it. We bus everybody from the Princess to the turtle sanctuary, air-conditioned luxury coach buses, and we give them a night of music and dancing and a bonfire and fantastic vegan food, coconut drinks, and we're like for the past 2 years, there's been a firework display from like right on down the beach. I think there's like a wedding thing, and it's absolutely a kind of magical evening. And the other thing to know about it is that and last year and this year, what we've done is we've turned it into a fundraiser for the Art of Liberty Foundation, where we're exposing intergenerational organized crimes, control of the government and the media. And so that party last year attracted almost 400 people. And Wired Magazine actually did a write-up on the party where they spent half the article talking about how cool the party was and how cool how cool the Turtle Sanctuary was, without mentioning the Art of Liberty Foundation or that we are exposing organized crimes, control of the government and the media. So, in classic mainstream media fashion, they made it to the party, but they missed the whole point of everything.
Yeah, and I've attended every time, and last year, I think previous years, you released turtles. So we actually release turtles at night and get to see these little tiny turtles kind of begin their life journey into the ocean. And that's really a sweet experience to kind of, metaphorically see this little infant baby turtle go into the ocean and into the sea of, uncertainty and challenge, kind of like what all of us are doing, try to get the word of freedom and voluntarism, anarchy out to the world when we leave that party. And one of my favorites is that you actually have the bonfire on the beach. And this last year was a huge, I don't know if it was like 10 or 12-foot diameter bonfire, but just having that fire on the beach and, like you said, 300 or 400 people there, it's a really great experience. And you mentioned the Art of Liberty Foundation. Can you tell a little bit maybe about what that is and why you're so passionate and why people might want to find out about that?
Yeah, sure. So my foundation is called the Art of Liberty Foundation, and as I mentioned, we're a startup public policy organization, and we're committed to exposing how intergenerational organized crime controls the government and the media. And so my book, Understanding Our Slavery, which is now going into its fourth edition, fifth printing. It's been the most popular best-selling book at the last two Anarchapulcos and the last two conferences that other conferences that I've attended. Is this kind of graphic rich, a lot of media ownership charts, a lot of organizational charts that make organized crimes hidden, make the connections between their political puppets and their political reporters visible. And so what we try and do, the book is designed for visual learners, and we can, I like to think that it can take somebody from kind of 0 to 60, from like, I don't really understand what's going on, to having an understanding of, oh, that's how they're controlling the media. That's how they're getting they're controlling the key reporterships, editorships, publisher positions in the media. And so we do a lot with visualization, and we're kind of unique in that we're calling it intergenerational organized crime. And now, the organizations that we've kind of fingered, the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the Trilateral Commission, these are the three organizations that Jeffrey Epstein was a member of. And you can see, in addition to, trying to control the press and having this kind of hidden government within the government that doesn't change, whether it's a Republican administration or a Democratic administration, you can actually see that in the organizational charts that we reproduce in the book. And then we back everything up with a 8 gig flash drive. We have a number that we call the Liberator, and it's a credit card size flash drive that you can kind of keep in your wallet. And that has the book on it. It has all of the media ownership charts, the organization charts. And so we're trying to get this evidence out in a form that is uncensorable as the organized crime government and their media and social media puppets begin to turn off large swaths of the internet. Facebook, YouTube, everybody's seeing the censorship. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this evidence out on flash drives where it can be spread in an uncensorable way.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a great point, because it seems like there is a race for full-blown totalitarianism and for the possibility of freedom. So it's like this race is going on. They're not even trying to hide it any longer, with the censorship, with the forced vaccines, mass surveillance for years, all these NSA whistleblowers coming out. And they're like very open for the people who have eyes to see and ears to hear. It's very clear. So I think it's a very powerful strategy to have to get offline. And I recommend people to find people's phone numbers, personal email addresses, and make a relationship with these people. Because if you're only connected on Facebook or a Fedbook, as Jeff Burke calls it, the founder of Anarchapulco, you might miss out. There's another app called Float, where there's a lot of freedom people on there. So you can stay connected and be able to communicate them, because they're full blown right now and they're not stopping. So I want to emphasize something that you mentioned about calling the government intergenerational organized crime, because you and I have known each other for at least 5 years. You were one of the original guys, at that first 140 people in 2015 at the small little place in Acapulco, Mexico, the first one. And last couple of years, I've heard that phrase, which you, as far as I know, coined, intergenerational organized crime. And you helped me understand that it's really important to use accurate terms, because it's not the cabal, although that's a term that I would use sometimes because it's kind of a phrase, the NWO, and whatever else you want to call the elites. I stopped using that phrase.
The deep state. So these terms, deep state, globalist, elitists, I believe that these terms are purposefully unhelpful and purposefully undescriptive, because the police and the FBI and law enforcement, they can't do anything about a deep state. They can't do anything about globalists or elitists. But if you phrase it in this is intergenerational organized crime, they're using violence and they're stealing money out of the government, and they're just laundering it through private companies that they control. They're handing trillions of dollars to private banks and private companies through the TARP and the TOLF and the bailout. The Pentagon can't account for 10 plus to 20 plus trillion dollars. The post office has lost $57 billion in the past 10 years. Amtrak claims they lost almost $1 billion in 10 years on food and beverage alone, as if they're losing money on the sodas that they buy for 20 cents and sell you for $3. It's literally, it's ridiculous. The Social Security Trust Fund has been looted, and there is literally a multi-trillion-dollar pile of IOUs in a filing cabinet in West Virginia that they just printed out. They call it a special obligation bond. And they take the money, they hand it off to one of these, military industrial complex, companies to bomb some empty valley in Afghanistan, and they leave a multi-$100 billion IOU in the place, and now that's accumulated to trillions with a T of IOUs. That the government, there's no way that the only way they can pay those off is by taxing you or by cutting your benefits or borrowing more. And so it's the same as if there wasn't an IOU there in the first place, because they can't, they don't care about the people, they don't care about the retirement. We're robbing the population, and most people can't get over it, but can't really get to it or understand it, because they've been religiously conditioned in an unethically manipulative program where the government is slipping them this religion of statism, and they're using kind of all of the tools and the techniques of an unethically manipulative cult. They're forcing children into the mandatory government school where they have to do the common prayer. They're giving them the presidency, which is the Pope. They're taking them to Washington, D.C. in middle school, where they take them to the cathedral of the Capitol that looks like a Vatican for a reason. They take them into the temples. They show them the deities. They sing hymns at ball games. But because they don't call it a religion, most people don't really put two and two together, and they just kind of accept it into their heart. And they can't imagine that the government, which loves them, which is pledged to take care of them, is absolutely murder incorporated, organized crime, looting the country for trillions of dollars, stealing everybody's retirement. And so one of the things that we do, in addition to calling it intergenerational organized crime, is we're exposing this hidden curriculum of statism in the mandatory government schools. We're exposing the hidden curriculum of statism and order following in the scouting and the JROTC and the Police Explorer program, where the kids are given awards for how to caress the flag and how to, do the flag worship. And so we're exposing these unethically manipulative techniques that are being used on kids in these mandatory government schools, in addition to the forced vaccination, in addition to the fluoridated water, in addition to the GMO garbage that they're given in the school cafeteria. And so we think that there's a program to debilitate the population so that they don't really understand how they're being robbed. And we're bringing this to light in a kind of no compromise way from a principled, voluntarist standpoint. We're saying that the government is illegitimate on its face. There is no way that one man can acquire the lawful moral ability to rule another man. No election, no coronation, no political ritual can accomplish it. And the other thing we're trying to do is we're trying to show real solutions, voluntary solutions for how you get out of this. How do you roll it back to the, how do you roll it back to the individual states? How do you roll it back to, how do you privatize some of these goods and services that the government is forcing upon you as a monopoly provider? And we think that once we make the transition, we think the economy will bloom, and that we will have prosperity and harmony for all once we get rid of this organized crime, parasitic, organism that has attached itself to the population and is literally feeding off them like a tick or a leech.
Right. Absolutely. It is definitely a parasite that is draining our not only financial resources, our mental resources. It's breaking up the family by design so that these guys can't have their global state, United Nations, and basically have a giant corporation that just is a mega monopoly over the entire world. as bizarre as that sounds,
Mm.
there's documents, tragedy and hope, and various people in the past who discovered some of the primary sources to show that this is exactly what the banks want to do with the military-industrial complex. General Smedley Butler in the 30s called wars a racket. He said, I wasn't fighting, bad guys. I was going representing corporations, all around the world and fighting for their interests. And that's, 80, 90 years ago. So it's a very, very serious matter. And that's what's so great about the party and this event is that there is the truth, which you're bringing, a lot of other people are bringing, but we're having fun too. And we're trying to bring the inspiration and bring the hope. As you can see behind me, the theme this year is evolve. And so rather than try to vote in a left or right president, right, we are transcending the state, evolving beyond coercive organizations, these criminals. And I think for me, like I said, that term really helped me to understand it's intergenerational organized crime. We didn't get here in the last 10 years. This has been a process, and I got a lot of respect for the people who did the Declaration of Independence. They had the right idea, just to declare your independence. We're not going to vote our way out of, King George, right, in England back then over 200 years ago. They just wrote on a piece of paper and said, we're free and we're now separating ourselves from you. And so I think just to kind of focus on the point one last time here is that state is a tool of tyranny. Just like how the divine right of kings, saying, hey, we have the right to rule over you because God says he gave us the right.
Right.
So now the state, as you mentioned, the religion aspect is a really important thing too. This is not a metaphor. It really is a religion. It really is something that they believe other humans have rights that we don't have. This is why, you're in one of the great authors of Larkin Rose. You're in the same category, helping humanity go beyond. Is that you cannot delegate a right to somebody else that you don't have. Just some of these basic concepts to make it simple and realize that this is a tool that these psychopaths and these rulers use on us, on our children, who are very innocent, and they want to believe in it, right? I mean, they have such good marketing. We're near the holidays here, and they're going to put a giant flag over the football field or the basketball games, and it feels good, right? It is like this religion and the music and the song and dance. However, if I didn't agree to some contract, how can they rule over me? And they can't. So it's really important the work that you're doing, and people that are thinking about coming to Anarchapulco. Really, if you're going to come, you've got to come to this event. You can meet Etienne here and a bunch of other really excitable, passionate, committed people, because as we mentioned, tyranny isn't coming, tyranny is here. And so we want to be bold. We want to have connections and solutions, because it's easy to point out some of the problems, but if you look at the root problem, and then you can actually go to the solution, and that is going beyond the state, helping the world and your neighbors on your left and right and wherever you are understand that their authority is illegitimate, period. And so as long as you don't aggress against someone else, right, the non-aggression principle, or their property, then you're good. This, I think, seems to be the new paradigm of humanity. And this is why I keep going back each year. I gain new friends, new contacts. If you're in the business, or there's actually going to be a health portion this year, the 3 days before. So if you kind of want to get in a good state, you can prepare yourself on the pre-event. And then the main event I mentioned, the 13th to the 16th, and the post-event and integration, there's going to be workshops, whatever you're interested in. We're trying to help you evolve and grow and have new epiphanies and new kind of defining moments for your life, so that you can go out and do, like you're doing, creating this event, the Turtle Party on the Beach, this book, this solution to these guys who just want to use coercion and intimidation and force. And so you've been going each year, and we always have a good time together. What would you share with somebody who may be in the U.S. or another country, and there is travel costs, hotel costs, and all these different things? If they're on the fence, what would you share to somebody that says, I've gone every year, and there's a lot of great things. There's a lot of good outcomes that come out as a result of this event. What would you share with somebody who was thinking about it, and maybe you have, a couple words or some insights to share them to say, man, this is the place. what would you tell that person?
I mean, I could just give you some anecdotes. I mean, I got into Bitcoin at $230 a Bitcoin after I had dinner with Roger Ver and Rob Hustle at Anarchapulco 1, and Roger Ver, like, over the course of dinner, explained it all to me. And like that, those are the kind of experiences that you can have at Anarchapulco that you're not going to have kind of at any other conference. At the Turtle Party, we kind of keep the music. Relatively low, so people can have conversations and have like real kind of in-depth, long format conversations with some of the leading lights of the liberty movement. I saw so many people that were there last year, in addition to you. I mean, Ernie Hancock, Tim Picciott, just a whole, Elias Clay, Rock to the House,
Right.
the Free Knots, Elemental. Like, we've got some of the leading, artists, of the movement that are going to be, playing. And so we always, turn it up, try and, take it up a notch every year. And so we learn a little bit, we learn like a little bit more and more. And so I guarantee you're going to have a good time if you come. And the final thing, because I did want to, I want to talk about this, that I actually think that we're winning. I actually think that the reason that we're being censored is because we're slowly and surely winning this war of ideas. We're slowly and surely, people are, once you realize that government is illegitimate, that it doesn't make any logical sense, it's not moral, it's not, it's just some stuff they told you in the mandatory government school. This revolution of the mind is really only going in one direction. And more people are calling it organized crime. Derek Bros, who was running for mayor of Houston, and probably the #1 clip that went viral from his campaign is he gets into this mayoral race and he realizes, it's organized crime, and it's the government and the media, even on the local level. And he called out the media as being the local Houston media as being a part of keeping this this corrupt system in place. And so, like, more and more people are finding the courage to call it what it is, organized crime. And also, it's becoming like, we're in the news. It's in the news. Like, what's going on in the Ukraine, where you've got Hunter Biden, the son of Pelosi, the son of Heinz, Kerry's, or all of these children are over in the Ukraine, trading on their parents' names in quid pro quo. And I mean, this is intergenerational organized crime. And these senators and these congressmen that go into Congress and come out, poor, and come out multi-millionaires, or in some cases, the Pelosi's are, I think they're coming close to $1 billion. You gotta say, what is going on in Washington, D.C.? I'm outside of Washington, D.C., visiting some family. I'm moving to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. But, I'm sitting in the wealthiest county in the United States, and 3 of the other ones are also, there's 3 more of the top 10 circling the Beltway. And it's like, what does Washington, D.C. produce besides the internet? I mean, it's almost like the wealth of an entire nation has been stolen and concentrated into this one little area around Washington, D.C. So I think it's becoming obvious to the people that, what's going on. And so I think our time is ripe, and come on out to the Turtle Party, and you can fight tyranny. It's for a good cause, and you're guaranteed to have an amazing, epic night on the beach.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm glad you said that too, because it is psychological warfare, and it's hard to determine if we're winning or losing. But I agree. I'm an optimist. And the reason the velvet glove has come off the iron fist is because they have no other options. They have no other weapons. It's only just force and coercion. So yes, you'll get an opportunity to meet Etienne at this amazing Turtle Party on the beach. Of course, there's a lot of other events happening there. And thanks for tuning in to this show of Anarchapulco TV. We're evolving beyond the state. We are transcending coercive organizations and inviting you to come participate in the fun, the networking, the parties, the dancing, and anything else you want to do, the beach. It's all going to be available here February 13th through the 16th, 2020. This is the main event, and come for the pre or post events if you have time and interest. So we'll see you next time here at the show. Keep spreading the peace, the love, the the anarchy, and the freedom worldwide. We'll see you guys soon at Anarchapulco. Bye, everyone.